I'm often asked the question, how do we feel the right way? And my answer to that is very often, what do you want to achieve by feeling the right way? What's the motivation behind wanting to be able to feel correctly? And 99% of the time, the answer is, because I want to get out of my fears, because I don't want to feel sad anymore, because I don't want to feel lonely anymore. And that's exactly where the problem lies. That's precisely where the very root of all these persistent problems truly lies. As long as we continue to develop a strong resistance toward our natural feelings, we inevitably stay deeply stuck within the confines of the story. We remain perpetually trapped in a state of non-acceptance, and consequently, these feelings have absolutely no other viable option but to either stubbornly stay put, significantly get much bigger, or temporarily leave only to inevitably come back again. It is absolutely essential to understand that a feeling, a painful emotion, is not an enemy, but rather a product, a result of our perspective of our life. It is us. We alone are the ones who create an emotion, who generate a painful emotion, and no one else. We say that the outside world is to blame, the partner is to blame, the children are to blame, the job is to blame, the boss is to blame. No, it is our judgment, it is our resistance, it is the story we truly believe that ultimately creates a painful feeling. That is very important to fully understand. That means as long as we have the motive that fear must go away, sadness must go away, loneliness must go away, we are feeding these feelings, we are feeding the resistance, and we are feeding the story. True feeling is nothing other than the neutral observation of the feeling. We cannot feel. We also cannot see, we cannot smell, taste, or hear. The specific object of our choice ultimately determines which particular sense organ is activated. Music cannot be seen, but music inherently and fundamentally determines that it is to be heard. A feeling cannot be seen, but the feeling determines that it is to be felt. The moon in the sky cannot be heard, but it determines that it is to be seen. That means the object of our choice determines which sense organ is activated. That means we have a very simple job. We don't have to make an effort to feel. The only thing that should arise from our source is relaxed, conscious attention to the object. Awareness of the object determines which sense organ is activated. It is always the relaxed, conscious perception that allows us to become one with the objects of our choice. And there is no motive in this, because the solution is not that the fears go away, that the sadness goes away, or that the loneliness goes away, but the solution is that we realize we are not separate from these things, that they are a product of us, from us, and that there is nothing wrong with that, but rather it is a direct result of how we see the world, how we see ourselves, how we see life. So it's not about getting rid of something. That is not the solution. It's about becoming one. Because where I consciously perceive my fears, there is no longer a perceiver as myself. There is only perception, impersonal perception, the space of consciousness that I am, in which the object called fear appears. And because the object called fear is allowed to appear, the task of fear is already fulfilled. It is seen, it is perceived. That's it. Then it remains. Then it transforms into something else, and everything flows back into the silence of my being, into the silence of our being. Relaxed, conscious perception is the solution, because there, I as the perceiver no longer exist. I as an individual no longer exist. I as a felt center of self no longer exist, and what remains is life itself, the aliveness of life for itself. Please take a very close look at why you want to feel correctly. What motive is behind it? And the solution is that there is no motive behind it. That there is simply an absolute acceptance of the here and now. Only then do you truly recognize yourself as pure consciousness, as vital energy, as the absolute essence, as life itself in its entirety. It is your complete lack of any expectation, your utterly neutral perception of the present here and now, that truly brings you into a profound awakening, where you, as a distinct individual person, are no longer truly here, and you deeply experience and fully recognize yourself as both absolutely nothing and absolutely everything at precisely the same time.